I took a 600-mile road trip to Scotland, and instead of bringing any of my much nicer and much more capable camera gear, the only thing I brought with me was this, the CampSnap. Now, just in case you've never had an Instagram ad for this, the CampSnap is a tiny, screen-free digital camera that is meant to work a bit like a disposable film camera that you might have had in the 90s or early 2000s, but it's digital, it's reusable, so it's better for the environment and it doesn't have to have any film processing time. On paper, there's a lot to love about this little thing, but I really wanted to give it a proper field test and a proper road test. So that's why I've decided to bring it as my only camera for this long weekend. It's also a bit of an exercise in digital minimalism. You see, it might be a digital camera, but it operates so much like a film camera, complete with the fact that you cannot view your photos until you've plugged it into a computer later, that it really makes you feel a bit more connected with the moment. If you just look at the spec sheet, there is a lot about this camera that seems like it isn't any good. The sensor is absolutely tiny, and it's only 8 megapixels, which puts it about on par with an iPhone 5 from 2012. There's also only 2 buttons on the camera. There's a button on the top, which doubles as a power button and a shutter button, and then there's a button on the back, which is a little switch that shows you if the flash is on or off or set to auto, and more on that later. But it's important to look past some of the poor specs on paper and realize what this camera does have going for it. For starters, it's got a 35mm equivalent lens. That's the same as on the X100 series, and it's one of the most popular and versatile focal lengths. You really can use it to do everything, that's why it's so popular. It might not be the best choice for every situation, but it will certainly be good enough for a lot of things. It's also got an actual optical viewfinder. It's so rare to have that physical connection with the world these days, and while it doesn't have frame lines and it might not match up exactly with what the lens is seeing, the experience of using it is just so much fun, and it's that sort of fun that you can't really get on most digital cameras these days unless you're spending significantly more money. The other thing it has going for it is just how small and light the thing is. It really is tiny. I think a lot of cameras get sold as being pocketable and tiny, but this one genuinely can fit into the back pocket of your jeans, or into the side pocket of your car, or into the really small sling bag that I like to carry around with me. It's the sort of thing that might not seem important at first glance, but if you think about it, the easier it is to take the camera with you, the more you're going to use it, and that means you're going to get more photographs out of it. Another thing that's a little weird about it is that it does make quite a lot of fun noises. I know there is an option to turn these off, but you have to kind of sideload a patch into it, which means it's not the sort of thing that most people are going to do, and if I'm being honest, I actually kind of like this. It's quite cute. So when you turn the camera on, which you press the power button for a couple of seconds, you get a beep like that, and every time you press the shutter button to take a photo, it makes a really weird, obviously fake shutter noise, which is just so strange and so endearing. Have a little listen to this. It's so cute. It just makes a little click. I kind of love it. Now, all that aside, this is still a camera, so of course the primary function is taking photos. Let's see how it does with that. I'll show you a few samples and talk over them. So in good lighting conditions, the camera performs quite nicely. It handles colors well, and it's got a cool kind of vintage aesthetic where everything looks a little bit faded, but nothing looks wrong, and the skin tones are oversaturated but quite nice. One of the more glaring issues is that you can't control the shutter speed at all. So you sometimes get images like this one which are way too blurry even though you weren't moving much at all, or you'll get images like this one here where there's no movement in the scene and it probably should have slowed down the shutter, but instead it's pushed the ISO so the image comes out really noisy. The way that it handles nature scenes is a bit of a mixed bag. The colours on the greens often come out looking really nice, but a lot of the time you'll find that the sky is completely blown out and overexposed. It definitely will give you that vintage aesthetic if that's what you're going for, but if you're trying to capture something with high dynamic range, this just won't be the camera for you, even if the colours are absolutely stunningly beautiful. And again, really the thing that trips me up here is the inconsistency. As you can see in this image here, it has delivered a perfectly balanced exposure that's kept all of the colours exactly how they should be, and you could believe that this photo was taken on a much more modern and much more expensive piece of equipment. But then you get photos like this one where it's just completely missed in every possible way that it's possible to miss. It's just a shame because it means that you end up not being able to trust the camera. You've just got to hope that it's done the right thing. Theoretically, street photography should be one of the genres where the CampSnap shines, but unfortunately again the lack of proper controls means that you can sometimes feel a little hamstrung. That said, if you can get over the lack of control, then using the CampSnap as a street camera can be quite a lot of fun. The fact that it's so small and pocketable means that you can really take it anywhere and use it in situations where you definitely wouldn't feel comfortable taking out a larger camera. And the 35mm equivalent lens really is the perfect choice for an everyday carry camera. It's not too wide, it's not too tight, it really is just exactly what you'd want it to be in pretty much all situations. The one thing I do have to mention as a huge downside is the flash. It's an LED flash instead of being an actual real flash unit, and the auto mode just can't be trusted. It will regularly fire when it shouldn't, or not fire when it really should, and as you can see here, you just end up with some ruined images. It's honestly better to just leave it off and pretend that this camera doesn't have a flash at all, because even in situations where it needs it, it just doesn't come out well. I would say so far the time I've spent with the camera has left me a little confused about really what to think of it. Because on one hand, the photos that you get out of it objectively aren't that great, but the experience of making them is just so much fun because it pares the photography down to its pure essentials of just having a viewfinder and a shutter button. I think whether or not you would like this camera really comes down to what it is you like about photography as a hobby, because if you're more results orientated, you're probably going to be disappointed. The photo quality just isn't there, and you'd be happy with something like your full-frame Sony or a Hasselblad or something like that. But if you want something that fits in your pocket and is tiny and lets you focus on the moment and the experience of taking the photo, I actually think you'll find something that's quite easy to love about the CampSnap, and I really think it could be a good choice. So let me know what you think. Have you tried one? Are you interested in trying one? Let me know in the comments, because I genuinely do want to know. But for now, that is all, so I'm going to sign out, and peace out for now.